My name is Morgan Mitchell. I'm 35. At 9:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning in the Dallas Federal Bankruptcy Courtroom, my younger brother Trevor stood up in front of 73 people, pointed at me across the mahogany witness table, and said the words he'd been practicing for months. Your Honor, my sister owes me $3 million, and she's been hiding assets to avoid paying me back. I want everyone here to see exactly what kind of person she really is. And the fluorescent lights made everything too bright. I could see every face in that courtroom. Local reporters in the second row. My parents, Fred and Alice, sitting directly behind Trevor's attorney, their arms crossed in identical postures. Members of the Highland Park social circle I'd known since college, whispering behind their hands. The court stenographer's fingers frozen over her keyboard. Trevor's lawyer, a man in a gray suit who'd introduced himself as Richard Pemberton 15 minutes earlier, was already standing, ready to present what he called overwhelming evidence of insolvency and fraud. I sat perfectly still. My attorney, Valerie Hayes, touched my wrist once, lightly. A silent question. Are you okay? I nodded. I was not okay. My hands were shaking so badly I had to press them flat against my thighs under the table. But I'd learned something over the past 6 months. Sometimes the only power you have is to stay quiet and let the other person keep talking. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 11 years to when I was 24 and still believed my family wanted me to succeed. I was sitting in my grandmother Eleanor's kitchen on a Sunday afternoon in late September. The windows were open. I could smell the rosemary she grew in terracotta pots on the sill. She was 71 then, sharp as ever, wearing her favorite navy cardigan with the pearl buttons. She'd asked me about my business plan, the one I'd been working on for 8 months, the plan to start my own real estate development company. Morgan, she said, pouring us both tea from her blue ceramic pot, your ideas are always 3 steps ahead. That's why they don't understand you yet. I'd just come from Sunday dinner at my parents' house. I'd mentioned the business plan there first. My father, Fred, had laughed, actually laughed, and said, Sweetheart, you barely finished your degree. Maybe start with something smaller. Trevor's already running his own consulting firm. Trevor was 22, and his consulting firm was a LinkedIn page and business cards our mother had designed for him. Grandmother Eleanor set down her teacup. Listen to me carefully. When you build something real, something that works, they're going to try to take it from you. Not because they're evil, because they can't stand being wrong about you. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. But you're going to build it anyway, and when they come for it, you're going to be ready. Promise me. I promised. I had no idea what I was promising. 3 years later, I'd scraped together enough for a down payment on my first property, a run-down duplex on Northwest 23rd Avenue. I renovated it myself, working 16-hour days, learning electrical and plumbing from YouTube videos. I sold it for a $40,000 profit. Then I did it again and again. By the time I was 29, I had Pinnacle Properties Group, a real company with real employees, and a real office in downtown Dallas. We specialized in luxury condo towers and mixed-use developments. I had a waiting list of investors. Trevor had moved back in with our parents. The first betrayal happened on a Tuesday in March, 4 months before the bankruptcy petition. I was at a lunch meeting with potential investors for the Texas Riverfront redevelopment project. The project that would change everything. A $100 million public-private partnership with the state of Texas. I'd spent 2 years on the proposal. 2 years of feasibility studies, environmental impact reports, community outreach meetings, architectural renderings. I'd just signed the contract 3 weeks earlier. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Family emergency. Come to the house immediately. I excused myself. Drove 20 minutes in midday traffic with my heart pounding. Ran up the front steps of my parents' white colonial with the wrought iron gate, burst through the door. They were all sitting in the living room. My parents on the couch, Trevor in the armchair by the window, the one that used to be Grandmother Eleanor's before she moved to her smaller place across town. They weren't crying. Nobody was hurt. They were just sitting there, waiting. "What's the emergency?" I said. My voice came out too loud. My father stood up. He was holding a folder. "Sit down, Morgan. I left a meeting for this. What happened?" "Trevor has brought something to our attention," my mother said. Her voice had that careful quality, the one she used when she was about to say something she'd rehearsed. "Something very serious about your business practices." I looked at Trevor. He smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "You owe me money," he said. $3 million. From that personal loan I gave you in 2019 to start your company. I've been patient, Morgan. But you've been dodging my calls, refusing to pay me back. So I've decided to take legal action." The room tilted. "What loan?" "Trevor, I never borrowed money from you. You've never had $3 million in your entire life." "Don't lie," my mother said sharply. "We've seen the documentation." My father opened the folder. Inside was a document, typed and printed, with my signature at the bottom. Except it wasn't my signature. It was close. The capital M had the same loop, but the Mitchell was wrong. The tail on the last L was too short. "This is fake," I said. My face was burning. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. "That's not my signature. I never signed this. I never borrowed anything from Trevor." "Morgan, please," my father said. "We're trying to help you here. If you just admit what you did and work out a payment plan—" "I didn't do anything," I was shouting now. I never shouted. "Trevor, why are you doing this?" He leaned back in the chair, crossed his legs. "You've always thought you were better than everyone, haven't you? Building your little real estate empire while the rest of us struggled. Did you ever think about helping your own family? Offering me a job? A partnership? No, you just kept climbing, stepping on everyone below you." "I offered you a job 3 times, I said. My hands were shaking. "You said real estate was beneath you." "That's enough," my mother said. "Trevor has every right to collect what he's owed. If you can't be reasonable about this, he'll have to pursue other options." I stood up. "I'm leaving." "If you walk out that door," my father said, "don't expect us to keep defending you to people. They're already asking questions about your business, about how you got that state contract, about whether everything's really as legitimate as you claim." I walked out. Over the next 2 weeks, I discovered what they meant by people asking questions. And 3 of my investors pulled out of smaller projects, citing concerns about leadership stability. A reporter from the Dallas Morning News called my office, asking about alleged financial irregularities. When I went to my regular Thursday lunch spot on Hawthorne Street, the hostess who usually greeted me by name suddenly couldn't find my reservation. My accountant called. "Morgan, I'm getting strange audit requests. Someone's asking for documentation of loans and personal debts. Do you know what this is about?" I knew exactly what it was about. I tried calling Grandmother Eleanor. She didn't answer. I drove to her apartment. She wasn't home. Later I found out my mother had taken her to a doctor's appointment, then to run errands, then to visit a cousin in Fort Worth. For 3 days straight, keeping her busy, keeping her away from me. The 4th day, I found Eleanor at the farmer's market on Maple Avenue at 7:14 a.m. She was buying tomatoes. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "They told me you were in trouble," she said quietly. "They told me not to interfere, that you'd made bad choices and needed to face consequences." "None of it's true," I said. "Grandmother, none of it. Trevor's lying. I don't know why, but he's lying." She studied my face for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I know." "You know?" "I've known Trevor since he was born, honey. I know what he does when he's jealous." She squeezed my hand. "But here's what you need to understand. This isn't just Trevor. Your parents are part of this. They've chosen sides." "Why?" She looked sad. "Because you succeeded. And every time you succeed, it reminds them that they dismissed you, that they were wrong. Some people can't live with being wrong, Morgan. They'd rather burn everything down. I needed work. Not because I was broke exactly, the company had reserves. But I needed to keep my hands busy, needed to feel useful while lawyers and accountants combed through every transaction I'd ever made, looking for proof that the loan was fake. I started going to job sites myself again, doing the work I used to do before I had project managers, inspecting properties, meeting with contractors, taking measurements. I was at a renovation site on Preston Road when Trevor showed up. It was a Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. I was in the gutted kitchen, talking to the plumbing contractor about pipe placement. Trevor walked in wearing designer jeans and a polo shirt that probably cost more than the contractor's weekly salary. My parents were with him. "So this is where you've been hiding," Trevor said loudly. The contractor looked up, confused. "I've been trying to reach you, Morgan. About the settlement offer." "I'm working," I said. "Please leave." "Settlement offer," the contractor said to me. "My sister owes me $3 million, Trevor announced to the room. There were 4 other workers there, 2 electricians, a carpenter, the general contractor. She's been pretending she's some big, successful developer, but really she's broke and trying to dodge her debts." The room went very quiet. "Trevor," I said carefully, "you need to leave. Now." "Why? Embarrassed?" He turned to the contractors. "You guys might want to get your payments up front. She might not be around to pay you much longer." The general contractor, a man named Marcus who'd worked with me on 6 projects, frowned. "Morgan always pays on time." "For now," my mother added. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed. "But when the bankruptcy petition goes through, you'll all be creditors fighting for scraps." Something clicked inside me, something hard and cold and absolutely clear. I set down my clipboard, looked at Trevor, at my parents, at the workers watching this unfold. "I apologize for this disruption," I said to Marcus. My voice was calm, flat. "Please continue working. I'll handle this outside." I walked past Trevor without looking at him, went out to the front yard. He followed, of course. My parents followed. That's what they wanted, an audience, a reaction. "The settlement offer is simple," Trevor said. "Sign over 40% of Pinnacle Properties Group to me. I'll drop the loan claim. We can be partners, like we should have been from the beginning." I looked at him, really looked at him. He was 33 years old. He'd never built anything in his life, never finished anything. He lived in our parents' house and drove a car our father paid for and wore expensive clothes our mother bought him. And he wanted 40% of my company. "No," I said. "Then I'll see you in bankruptcy court," he said. "I've already filed the petition. You'll be getting the notice in a few days. And Morgan?" He leaned in close. "Get ready to be humiliated in front of everyone." He walked away. My parents followed. The general contractor came out a minute later. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "Yeah," I said. I wasn't. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the forged signature, about the loan document that didn't exist in any of my records, any of my emails, any of my bank statements, about how confident Trevor had been, like he knew something I didn't. At 2:17 a.m., I got up, drove to my office, unlocked my filing cabinet, started going through old files, not looking for anything specific, just looking. I found it in a folder labeled MIEC 2019. A water-stained envelope, yellowed at the edges, tucked behind some old property deeds. No address, no postmark, just my name written in Grandmother Eleanor's handwriting on the front. Inside was a letter and a key. The letter was short, handwritten, dated March 2019. "Dearest Morgan, if you're reading this, then something has gone wrong and you needed to find this. I've been watching your brother. I've been watching your parents. I know what they say about you when you're not in the room. I know what they're planning. This key opens safe deposit box 847 at First National Bank on Commerce Street. Inside you'll find documents I've been collecting for 5 years. Documents that prove what Trevor really is, what your parents have been hiding. I'm not gone yet, honey. I'm still here. But if things go the way I think they will, you'll need proof. You'll need protection. And I want you to know you have it. Don't show this to anyone yet. Wait until the right moment. You'll know when. You are not what they call you. You are my architect. Always have been. All my love, Grandmother Eleanor. I read it 3 times, looked at the key. It was small, brass, with the number 847 stamped on it. The next morning at 6:51 a.m., said I was standing outside First National Bank when they unlocked the doors. The attendant led me to the vault. Box 847 was in the middle row, eye level. I slid the key in, turned it, opened the long metal drawer. Inside, a manila folder, a sealed white envelope, and a small photograph of me and Eleanor at my college graduation, both of us laughing. I took the folder to a private viewing room, opened it. The first document was a bank statement. Trevor's account, from 2018 to 2023. I saw regular deposits from my parents, $3,000 every month like clockwork. I saw cash withdrawals. I saw credit card payments for luxury purchases. I saw a balance that never went above $12,000 and frequently dipped to double digits. Trevor had never had $3 million. The second document was a photocopy of the loan agreement he'd shown my parents. But this version had notes in the margins, Eleanor's handwriting. Forged signature compared to Morgan's real signature from Property Deed 2019. M differs in terminal stroke. Double-check notary stamp. No such notary registered in Dallas County. The third document was a witness statement, signed and notarized. From Blake Hutchinson, my former financial analyst who'd quit 6 months ago to pursue other opportunities. The statement said, I, Blake Hutchinson, admit that I provided confidential financial documents from Pinnacle Properties Group to Trevor Ellis in exchange for payment of $15,000. I was told these documents would be used to help Mr. Ellis understand the real estate business. I did not know they would be used for fraud. I am coming forward because I cannot live with what I've done. The fourth document made my stomach drop. It was a property deed for the white colonial house where my parents lived, the house I'd grown up in, except the deed showed something I never knew. My parents had refinanced it 4 times in the past 10 years. They owed $680,000. They were 3 months behind on payments. The bank was initiating foreclosure proceedings. The fifth document was a letter from my father to a lawyer, dated 2 months ago. We need to find a way to access Morgan's assets. Trevor's plan might work. If we can force a bankruptcy and restructuring, we can argue that family members should have priority claims as creditors. This could save the house. I sat in that room for 20 minutes, staring at the papers. Then I opened the sealed white envelope. Inside was another letter from Eleanor. This one was dated 2 weeks ago. My dearest Morgan, if you found this box, then Trevor has made his move. I knew he would. I've watched him watching you for years, his resentment growing every time you succeeded. Your parents have enabled him because it's easier than admitting they chose the wrong child to believe in. But here's what they don't know. I've also been in touch with someone. A lawyer. Her name is Valerie Hayes. Her office is at 2800 Ross Avenue, Suite 1200. I told her about you 3 years ago. I told her to wait, to watch, to be ready. When the bankruptcy petition is filed, call her. Tell her I sent you. She'll know what to do. The documents in this folder are copies. The originals are with Valerie already. I've also given her something else, recordings of conversations, of Trevor bragging to his friends about his plan, of your parents discussing how to pressure you. You are not fighting this alone. You never were. I love you, my architect. Build something beautiful out of this mess. All my love, Grandmother Eleanor. I called Valerie Hayes from the bank parking lot. She answered on the second ring. Ms. Mitchell, she said, I've been waiting for your call. Your grandmother told me you'd find the box when you were ready. Are you ready? Yes, I said. Good. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. Don't communicate with your family except through me. The bankruptcy petition will be served in approximately 48 hours. When it is, we'll file our response. And Morgan, we're going to win. The petition arrived on a Friday at 4:47 p.m. A courier delivered it to my office. Involuntary bankruptcy under Chapter 7. Petitioner, Trevor Ellis. Claimed debt, $3 million plus interest. Supporting documentation, the forged loan agreement, testimony from my parents about my reckless spending and asset concealment. A letter from Blake about concerning financial practices. The hearing was set for 3 weeks later, Dallas Federal Bankruptcy Courtroom, Judge Harlan Brooks presiding. Valerie filed our response on Monday. She didn't reveal what we had. She just denied the debt, denied the loan, and requested a full evidentiary hearing. Trevor's lawyer, Richard Pemberton, filed a motion to compel me to produce 5 years of financial records. Valerie responded with her own motion to compel Trevor to prove he'd ever possessed $3 million in his life. The 3 weeks were hell. The story leaked. Local developer faces bankruptcy amid family dispute. The Highland Park Gossip Network lit up. I got disinvited from 2 charity events. 3 more investors pulled out. A city council member who'd been supportive of the riverfront project started asking questions about financial stability. I went to see grandmother Eleanor the night before the hearing. She was in her apartment, watering her plants. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Terrified," I said. "Good," she said. "That means you know what's at stake. But Morgan, listen to me. Tomorrow, when you're in that courtroom, remember one thing. The truth doesn't need you to defend it loudly. The truth just needs you to stay calm and let it speak." The morning of the hearing, I put on my navy suit, the one I wore for investor meetings. I met Valerie outside the courthouse at 8:30 a.m. She was carrying 3 leather folders and a laptop bag. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready?" The courtroom was packed. I'd never seen so many people at a bankruptcy hearing. Trevor had made sure to invite everyone. The local press, business associates, social acquaintances, people I'd known since high school. They filled every bench. Judge Harlan Brooks entered at 9:45 a.m. He was in his early 60s, gray-haired, with reading glasses on a chain around his neck. He looked at the crowd, raised an eyebrow, and sat down. "This is quite the audience for an involuntary bankruptcy petition," he said dryly. "Let's proceed, Mr. Pemberton. You're representing the petitioner?" Richard Pemberton stood up. "Yes, Your Honor, we're here today because Ms. Mitchell has refused to honor a legitimate debt of $3 million that she owes to her brother, Trevor Ellis. Despite repeated attempts to resolve this matter privately, she has dodged, deflected, and hidden assets. We ask this court to place her company, Pinnacle Properties Group, into bankruptcy so that creditors, including my client, can be paid what they're owed." Judge Brooks looked at me. "Ms. Mitchell, you're represented by Valerie Hayes?" Valerie stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "And your position?" "Our position is simple, Your Honor. The debt doesn't exist. The loan never happened. And we're prepared to prove it." That's when Trevor stood up. "Your Honor, if I may," he said, "I just want to say something to my sister directly." Judge Brooks frowned. "Mr. Ellis, you'll have an opportunity to testify." "I know, Your Honor, but I think the court should understand the personal context here. Morgan and I used to be close. I lent her that money because I believed in her, because I wanted to help her succeed, and she's repaying me by dragging our family through this humiliation, by pretending the loan never existed, by calling me a liar in front of all these people." He turned to look at me. The courtroom was silent. "Morgan, you can still make this right. Just admit what you did. Sign the settlement agreement. Give me my share of the company, and we can move forward as a family. I don't want to do this, but you're forcing my hand." I looked at Valerie. She shook her head slightly. "Stay quiet. Let him talk." "Your Honor," Trevor continued, "I have documentation. I have witnesses. I have proof that my sister borrowed this money and has been lying about it ever since. We're not here to destroy her. We're here to hold her accountable." Judge Brooks adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Ellis, please sit down. We'll proceed with testimony in the proper order." Pemberton spent the next 20 minutes presenting his case. He entered the loan agreement into evidence. He called my mother to testify. She wore a black dress, like she was going to a funeral. She sat in the witness box and talked about how troubled I'd been, how secretive about my finances, how I'd always been defensive when asked about the loan. "Did you witness the loan transaction?" Valerie asked on cross-examination. "Not directly," my mother admitted, "but Trevor told me about it, and I saw how Morgan's behavior changed. She became distant, angry when we asked questions. Did you ever see $3 million transferred from your son's account to your daughter's account?" "No, but did you ever see any documentation of this alleged loan before 6 months ago?" "Trevor kept it private. He didn't want to embarrass Morgan." "How convenient," Valerie said. Pemberton called Blake Hutchinson next. Blake looked miserable. He testified about irregularities in my bookkeeping, about how I'd been evasive when he asked about certain transactions. On cross-examination, Valerie asked him one question. "Mr. Hutchinson, did Trevor Ellis pay you $15,000 to steal confidential documents from Pinnacle Properties Group?" Blake's face went white. I don't... Yes or no, Mr. Hutchinson? Did Trevor Ellis pay you $15,000? Pemberton shot to his feet. "Objection! This is outrageous. There's no evidence." Valerie opened her folder. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence a signed affidavit from Mr. Hutchinson dated 8 months ago, admitting to exactly that. It was placed in safekeeping by Eleanor Mitchell, the defendant's grandmother, who suspected this fraud was being planned." The courtroom erupted. Judge Brooks banged his gavel. "Order! Ms. Hayes, approach the bench. Mr. Pemberton, you too." I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw Pemberton's face go red. I saw Valerie hand over a document. I saw the judge read it, his expression darkening. When they returned to their tables, Judge Brooks looked at Blake. "Mr. Hutchinson, I'm going to ask you again, under penalty of perjury. Did you provide confidential documents to Trevor Ellis in exchange for payment?" Blake closed his eyes. "Yes." "Were you told these documents would be used to fabricate evidence of insolvency?" I didn't know that at first. I thought he just wanted to understand the business. But then I saw how he was using them, and I realized what I'd done. That's why I wrote the affidavit, to come clean." "You may step down," Judge Brooks said. His voice was ice. Pemberton called Trevor to the stand. Trevor walked up confidently, like he was accepting an award. He swore the oath, sat down, smiled at the courtroom. "Mr. Ellis," Pemberton said, "please tell the court about the loan you made to your sister in 2019. "Of course," Trevor said. "I'd been saving for years. I'd made some successful investments. When Morgan came to me with her business plan, I wanted to help, so I lent her $3 million. We had an agreement. She was supposed to pay me back within 5 years with interest. She never did." "And why do you believe she's hidden assets?" "Because she's running a successful company. She just signed a $100 million contract with the state of Texas. She has the money. She just doesn't want to pay me." Judge Brooks leaned forward. "Mr. Ellis, I have a question." Trevor smiled. "Yes, Your Honor?" "You claim you lent your sister $3 million in 2019. Where did you get $3 million? The smile faltered. I had investments, savings." "Specifically, where? Which accounts?" "Your Honor, I'm not sure what relevance—" "Answer the question, Mr. Ellis." Trevor looked at his lawyer. Pemberton stood up. "Your Honor, my client's financial history isn't on trial here. The defendant's is." "Actually, Mr. Pemberton, when someone claims they lent millions of dollars, their ability to have possessed that money is highly relevant. Ms. Hayes?" Valerie stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence 5 years of bank statements for Trevor Ellis. These were subpoenaed as part of our discovery. They show that at no point between 2015 and 2024 did Mr. Ellis have more than $15,000 in any account. He received monthly deposits of $3,000 from his parents. He had no investments, no savings accounts, no assets that could possibly have generated $3 million. She projected the statements on the courtroom screen. Page after page of transactions, luxury purchases, cash withdrawals, credit card payments, a balance that barely moved. The courtroom was dead silent. Judge Brooks looked at Trevor. "Mr. Ellis, where did you get $3 million?" Trevor's face was red now. There were other accounts. Private accounts. "Show me one." "I don't have them with me." "Mr. Ellis, did you or did you not lend your sister $3 million?" "I did. The document proves it." "The document that has a forged signature? The document that was notarized by someone who doesn't exist? That document?" Valerie stood again. "Your Honor, I'd also like to enter into evidence a forensic analysis of the loan agreement. The signature is demonstrably not Ms. Mitchell's. The notary stamp references a notary who has never been registered in Dallas County. The paper itself was manufactured in 2023, 4 years after this loan allegedly took place. The metadata on the digital file shows it was created on Trevor Ellis's laptop 6 months ago." Pemberton was sweating. "Your Honor, these are serious allegations." "They certainly are," Judge Brooks said. "Mr. Ellis, did you fabricate this loan document?" Trevor stood up in the witness box. "This is ridiculous. You're all acting like I'm the criminal here. Morgan is the one who's been lying. She's the one who's been hiding her success while the rest of her family struggled. She never helped us. She never offered. She just kept building her empire and looking down on us." "Mr. Ellis, sit down." "No! I'm tired of watching her win while I have nothing. She doesn't deserve that company. She doesn't deserve that contract. I should have been the one." "Mr. Ellis! She's always acted like she's better than me, better than all of us, and you're all falling for it." "She's not the victim here," Judge Brooks' voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. "Mr. Ellis, sit down now, or I will hold you in contempt." Trevor sat down. He was breathing hard. His face was purple. "Ms. Hayes," Judge Brooks said quietly, "do you have anything else?" "Yes, Your Honor." Valerie picked up her laptop. "I'd like to play an audio recording. This is a conversation between Trevor Ellis and his friend Marcus Webb, recorded at a bar in Highland Park 8 months ago. Mrs. Eleanor Mitchell obtained this recording after being told by Mr. Webb, who is a former client of Miss Mitchell's, and felt guilty about what he'd heard." She pressed play. Trevor's voice filled the courtroom, tinny through the speakers but unmistakable. "And the beauty of it is, she can't prove the loan didn't happen. I mean, how do you prove a negative, right? I've got the documentation. I've got Blake feeding me her company's internal numbers. Once I file the bankruptcy petition, she'll be so desperate to save her reputation that she'll give me whatever I want. 40% of the company, minimum, maybe more. And then I'll finally have what I should have had from the beginning." Marcus Webb's voice. "Man, that's your sister." Trevor's laugh. "Yeah, well, she never treated me like a brother. She treated me like I was nobody. Time for her to learn what that feels like." The recording ended. The courtroom was silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. Judge Brooks removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes, put the glasses back on. "Mr. Pemberton, I'm dismissing this petition with prejudice. Your client fabricated evidence, committed fraud, and attempted to use this court to extort his sister. I'm referring this matter to the FBI for investigation of bankruptcy fraud and to the State Bar for potential sanctions against you for bringing this case without proper due diligence." "Your Honor," Pemberton started. "We're done, Mr. Pemberton. Miss Mitchell, you're free to go. I apologize that you had to endure this." He banged the gavel. I sat there, not moving. Valerie touched my shoulder. "Morgan, it's over." I looked across the room. Trevor was standing, his face blank. My mother was crying. My father was staring at the floor. The reporters were typing frantically. The Highland Park crowd was whispering, staring. I stood up, walked past them all, didn't say a word, just walked out of the courthouse into the bright Dallas sunlight. Valerie caught up with me on the steps. "You okay?" "I don't know yet," I said. For what it's worth, you were incredibly composed in there. Your grandmother would be proud. I drove straight to Eleanor's apartment. She opened the door before I could knock. I listened on the courthouse live stream. She said, "Come here." I fell into her arms, started crying. All the fear, all the anger, all the tension of the past 6 months came pouring out. "You saved me," I said. "No, honey. I just gave you the tools. You saved yourself." Over the next 2 weeks, the fallout was swift. The Dallas Morning News ran a full exposé. Local developer targeted by brother's fraudulent bankruptcy scheme. 3 different law firms reached out to me about representing me in a civil suit against Trevor. The state of Texas reaffirmed their commitment to the riverfront project and issued a statement supporting my company. Trevor disappeared. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved to Arizona. My parents tried calling me twice. I didn't answer. They sent a letter. I didn't open it, but I did go to see Eleanor every Sunday. We'd have tea in her kitchen, the windows open, the smell of rosemary in the air. "Do you forgive them?" she asked me one afternoon. I thought about it. I don't know. I don't think they deserve forgiveness. But I also don't want to spend the rest of my life angry. So maybe I don't forgive them. I just choose to build something new instead. She smiled. That sounds like my architect. 6 months later, I stood at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Texas Riverfront Redevelopment Project. 300 people attended, city officials, investors, community members, the press. I gave a speech about vision and resilience and the importance of sustainable urban development. I didn't mention my family. I didn't need to. That night, I went back to my apartment, a loft in the Arts District with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Dallas. I'd bought it a month after the hearing. A fresh start. I made tea in Eleanor's blue ceramic pot, the one she'd given me as a housewarming gift. I sat on my couch with my cat, a gray tabby I'd named Stella, star in Latin. Eleanor had laughed when I told her. I looked out at the city lights, thought about everything that had happened, everything I'd learned. If you're watching this and you've ever been told you don't deserve your success or that your accomplishments somehow threaten the people who should be celebrating you, I want you to know something. You're not responsible for other people's insecurity. You're not required to make yourself smaller so they can feel bigger. And when they come for what you've built, you don't have to fight them with anger. You fight them with preparation, with truth, and with the quiet confidence that you earned every single thing you have. If you've ever had someone in your family try to tear you down instead of lift you up, type, "I chose myself," in the comments. Or, if you're still figuring out how to set those boundaries, type, "I'm learning." Both are brave, both matter. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. I took a sip of tea, looked at the photo on my desk. Me and Eleanor at my college graduation, both of us laughing. I'd had it framed. Outside, it started to rain, soft and steady. The city lights blurred through the water on the windows, turning everything into watercolor. I thought about that morning in the bankruptcy courtroom. How scared I'd been, how quiet I'd stayed, how the truth had been enough. Grandmother Eleanor was right. The truth doesn't need you to defend it loudly. It just needs you to stay calm and let it speak. I'm 36 now. Pinnacle Properties Group is growing. The Riverfront project breaks ground next month. I don't talk to my parents anymore. I don't talk to Trevor. I see Grandmother Eleanor every Sunday, and I'm okay with all of it.